Hello, welcome to St James's Park and another video on Through Magpie Eyes. So today I'm going to give you a little walk around the outside of St James's, just to give you a look as to what it's like if you're not familiar with the ground itself. Tell you a little bit about the history of the ground as well. It is actually one of the oldest football stadiums in the United Kingdom at the current time. So without further ado, let's have a look. So this is the southeast corner. Over here we've got the Gala on Strawberry Place, and this is the Millburn Stand. This is the main stand. This is where the changing rooms are. This is where the teams will arrive. So this is a statue of Sir Bobby Robson, iconic football manager, lifetime supporter of Newcastle United. So Bobby was from a little mining village called Langley Park in County Durham, maybe about 20 miles away from Newcastle. And as a boy, his father would bring him up to St James's Park to watch the club. Obviously he went on to have great success at Ipswich, Barcelona, Porto, PSV, so you haven't done that in order, and was England manager as well. Got England to the semi-finals of the 1990 World Cup. So this is the terrace bar. This is a match day bar run. It's not open other times. So the Millburn Stand can really be split into two different eras. So this side here on the right is the original part of the Millburn Stand, and this was built in 1987, 1988. Stand's named after Jacky Milburn, one of the iconic Newcastle United strikers. Held the all-time goal scoring record until Alan Shearer broke that in 2006. Over here we've got the box office. So, as I say, the original stand was built in 1987, 1988 and was extended in 2000. The extra tier was put on. So for anybody who would like to know what the Millburn Stand used to look like before the extension, it was almost identical to the main stand that you see at Watford's Ground, Vicarage Road. The two stands were built at about the same time, and like I say, almost identical. So if you want to get an idea of what the Millburn Stand used to be like, have a look at Watford's Ground. So this is the main reception here. This is where all the dignitaries will go, all the directors, sponsors, corporate hospitality, guests, former players. If you're visiting for any conferences or functions, you'll come to this reception here. And in the last few days, a lot of the sports, well in fact all the Sports Direct signs which used to adorn the place and make it look really, really ugly, have been pulled down. The Sports Direct, owned by former owner Mike Ashley, no longer a sponsor. Not that they were sponsoring us anyway, got minimal amounts of money from them. But yeah, there used to be a big Sports Direct sign just there, and that's obviously come down and it's brilliant to see. Can't wait to get inside the ground a week on Sunday for the Man City game. So all the signs in there have been taken down as well. So over here is where the buses will pull up and the teams will come up into the players' entrance, just up those stairs there. Obviously, as it says, stadium security, and here we've got entrance to the Platinum Club. So this is one of the posher areas of the stadium. It's not the director's box, but yeah, one of the posh areas of St James's. St James's itself has had a bit of a tidy up just in recent weeks. Over Mike Ashley's 14-year reign, it was really neglected quite a bit. was looking a little bit shabby and dirty, but the new owners have now come in and really cleaned it up quite a bit, which is great to see. So over here we have plaques of fans. A lot of people have bought plaques for relatives and friends with big Newcastle supporters who have sadly died. So yeah, we've got plaques here commemorating former supporters. So we're coming round onto the northwest corner now, and this is where the Millburn Stand joins on to the Leazers Stand. Again, like the Millburn, the Leazers was extended in 2000 to bring the capacity of the ground up to its current 52, near 53,000. But there is an access point directly into the stadium here, so it means if there's any emergencies or what have you, the likes of ambulances can get straight in pitch side. So as I said, the Leazers Stand was extended in 2000. But again, on the right, stand was a little bit older than that. It was completed in 1993, just after the club had been promoted to the Premier League for the first time. So this is the main part of the Leazers now. The Leazers end before then used to be terracing. It had been reduced quite a bit and was used for the away support during the 1980s and very early 1990s up to 1993. But before then it had been a huge covered terracing for the most die-hard Newcastle fans until the main part of it was demolished in 1978. So over here on the left is the turnstiles for the away supporters, and they go up into level 7 right up at the top. And some more away turnstiles over there as well. As you can see, because of COVID, clubs being very careful. Like everybody, they've got sanitizer stations at the turnstiles, they've got more inside in the toilets, so they are taking precautions. So this is now the northeast corner. This is where the Leazers end meets the east stand, and we just move on a little bit. This is my part of the ground. This is where I sit. So we're just going to come round here onto Leazers Terrace, which I'm going to talk to you about in just a second. But yeah, I would normally leave the ground from this gate here you just peer inside, you can see right through into the stadium itself, up into level 7 of the Leazers, or the Millburn even, sorry. Getting confused there. No, that's the Millburn. Okay, so these are the turnstiles that I would normally go into on a match day. Again, can we get another shot inside the stadium? No, we can't. The gate's fully closed down there, so we can't look inside. Okay, but yeah, this is Leazers Terrace. Now this is the reason why the East Stand is smaller than the others. It's because obviously we've got some grade 1 listed Georgian terraces here, and they can't be demolished. There has been talk that there might be possible to integrate them into a new stand, but from various accounts it would cost more than building an entirely new stadium because of the preservations you'd have to do, the work that it would take to actually preserve everything that needed to be preserved whilst putting it into a stadium. So it's probably unlikely that that would happen. But this is the oldest section of the current St James's. So the East Stand was built in the early 70s, around 1972, 1973. And at the time it was built, there were actually plans to build all 4 sides like this, but typical of Newcastle United, they ran out of money and they only got 1 side done. So over here, this was a former function suite. There used to be executive boxes at the bottom of the East Stand, and this is where you'd go for your corporate hospitality. There would be like a bar in the function suite here, and this is where you would go for corporate hospitality back before the Millburn. And over here we've got what was a secondary ticket office. So this is Strawberry Lane, which gets absolutely clogged up after a match. Everybody's squeezing down here. And we're now heading on to the southeast corner, or the Strawberry Corner as it gets called. This is where I would say what we call the hardcore go. The people who are the most vocal, singing and up in the seats and what have you, standing up and what have you, which is brilliant. And people sort of congregated here unofficially. At one point there was a singing section up in the level 7, which was officially endorsed by the club and was creating some great atmospheres, but typical of Mike Ashley, spat his dummy out when fans criticised them, got rid of it completely. But yeah, people started unofficially congregating in the Strawberry Corner, and as I say, it's kind of become the big singing area of the ground. We're going to go down the steps in a minute or two, but there's the Strawberry Pub, quite famous throughout football in the UK. It gets on the likes of Sky Sports quite a bit if ever they're doing any sort of reports or what have you at St James's. you can bet that they'll be down at the Strawberry. Well-known pub, obviously gets rammed on match days, very popular. The night of the takeover, Sam Fender was down there with his saxophone player standing on the bar playing Local Hero, which is the song that Newcastle come out to on match days. A lot of people are getting very annoyed about the developments that are taken around it. It's kind of almost surrounding the Strawberry. People are worried that will there be a time when the Strawberry gets demolished? Let's hope not. So I just want to take you on to the main part of the Gala Gate. So the Gala Gate's actually raised up. We're going to go downstairs in a minute, but you'll see there's it's basically the club shop and the bar that's below. So again, the main turnstiles and the gates for the Gala Gate are up here. Again, there's a ticket office which is seldom used. But yeah, that's St James's Park. So, as I've mentioned, the stadium is currently just under 53,000 capacity. There has been talk about expanding it. There was talk back in the late 90s when the club was being run by Sir John Hall and then Freddie Shepherd. About taking the club to the next level, and that's actually why the expansions happened. So the club were looking at a number of different options there. One option was to move to Leazer's Park, just behind the Leazer's Stand, and build a new stadium there, which was all designed and what have you, and looked like a little bit of a cross between the Johan Cruyff Arena in Amsterdam, where Ajax play, and the San Siro in Milan. It's quite nice looking. And what would have happened was St James's would have been knocked down. Part of it would have been made into an extension of Leazer's Park to compensate for the land lost for the new stadium. But another part would have been bringing the Leazer's Stand down to meet the Gala Gate to make a little arena where the ice hockey and the basketball teams would play, because again back in the late 90s Sir John Hall bought up I think they were the Sunderland Scorpions basketball team, relocated them to Newcastle and made them into the Newcastle Eagles, and there was the Durham Wasps ice hockey team which he bought and turned them into the Newcastle Cobras. Both of them ended up playing at the arena, but the plan was to have them play in a little St James's arena, which would be about 10,000. The plans got knocked back. There was a lot of conservationists, lots of people who were sort of the opinion, not in my backyard, and they went against it, so the ground was never built. But that's when the club turned their attention and decided that they could extend St James's Park after all. But now that the takeover's happened, really ambitious owners, it's possible that 53,000 might not be big enough, and there's again talk about what we would do about that. Could we try the Leazer's Park option again? Some people think we could, others think it's very, very doubtful. As I've explained, there's a problem extending the East Stand because of the Leazer's Terrace behind it. There has been talk about extending the Gala Gate. One of the problems was that a couple of years ago, Mike Ashley sold that land on the other side of Strawberry Place, which is next door to St James's Metro, because the club actually used to own that land in the days of Hall and Shepherd. Mike Ashley sold it for private development. So that kind of put the kibosh on that idea, but just in the last few days there have been some changes. because the development company that owns that land is going into administration. So there is a possibility that Newcastle United may be able to buy that land back and then build over Strawberry Place and extend there. And what it would mean is a little bit like you've seen with the Millburn and the Leasers, the way that there's that tunnel and it's in two parts. So it could easily just go over Strawberry Place without closing the road down there. So let's go downstairs because there's just one or two things that I'm going to show you down there. Over here is the statue of Jacky Milburn. John Edward Thompson Milburn, 1924 to 1988. And as I said earlier on, he was the club's record goal scorer until Alan Shearer broke his record in 2006. Like Alan Shearer, he was from the area. He was a Newcastle supporter growing up. He was from Coal Mining Village up in Ashington, maybe about 15 miles away. Started playing for the club during the Second World War. So he'd actually been rejected from the Navy. Reason being, working in a town like Ashington, he came from mining stock. They needed miners. It was an essential occupation. So rather than going off to fight, he was sent down the mines, which meant he had a little bit of free time. He used to play football during that time, played for local clubs in Ashington. Had played for Hurst Juniors as a young kid, and he saw an advert, I think it was in the Sunday Sun. There was a classified advert from Newcastle United advertising trials that were taking place at St James's. So he went down and he took part in a trial game, impressed, and was invited back for a final trial game, trialists v the Newcastle first team, albeit diminished because of the situation with the war. I think he scored 3 or 4 goals in that game and was offered the chance to sign professional terms with them, and did that whilst he was still going down the mines. Played in the wartime league for Newcastle, and then obviously became full-time player once the war ended, and became part of the promotion side in 1947 and part of the iconic Newcastle team in the 1950s that won the FA Cup 3 times in 1951, 1952, 1955, and he's still an absolute legend to this day. When he died in 1988, there were thousands out on the streets. He had his funeral held at the city's cathedral, St Nicholas's Cathedral, and as I say, thousands were lining the route between his home in Ashington to St Nicholas's Cathedral. It was quite an emotional event. So over here we have a plaque to Joe Harvey, and Joe Harvey was a teammate of Jacky Milburn, and again he signed for Newcastle towards the end of the Second World War, and again was part of that promotion side and captain of the cup winning side again in 51, 52 and 55. Came back to the club as a manager in 1962 when the club were really struggling. Got them promoted back into the old First Division in 1965, then took them on to win the European Fairs Cup in 1969. Now the Fairs Cup was basically the forerunner of what a couple of years later became the UEFA Cup and is now the Europa League. Went on to take Newcastle to the FA Cup final in 1974 where we were beaten by Liverpool, and also won the Anglo-Italian Cup back in 1973. That was quite a renowned competition just for a couple of years, but it didn't go much further than that. And there was also the Texaco Cup, which was another competition which took place in the 1970s but didn't survive, and they won that in 1974 and 1975. So just to tell you a little bit about the history of St James's Park. So as I'd mentioned, it is one of the oldest grounds in the United Kingdom. Football was first played here in the 1870s. The first regular team to play here was a team called Newcastle Rangers in 1880. They didn't last a great deal of time. Then the Northumberland FA used to play games here when they were playing other counties and other county FAs, and then it became the home in 1882 of Newcastle West End. And as I've mentioned in my previous video, Newcastle West End played there for 10 years, got into financial difficulties and had to fold, and invited their rivals Newcastle East End to take up the lease. East End accepted and moved here in September of 1892, just in time for the start of the 1892-1893 season. Prior to it being a football ground, it used to be the gallows, the town gallows, the city gallows, the place where people were hung and executed, and the final execution took place on this site in 1840. So scary to think that it was only a 40-year gap between executions taking place and football being played. Some people think that the location's history has an impact to play in Newcastle's lack of success. They think it's maybe a curse due to the executions and what have you, but we'll see. So this area is called Gallagher. There's actually a street called Gallagher just down the lane there, and it's all because of the gallows that were located here. Gate was an old term meaning route or road, so it was the route or the road to the gallows. The Strawberry Pub, it's called that because of the local Dominican friars, black friars, who had strawberry fields here and used to make strawberry wine. So we've got the Strawberry Pub. This street that the Gallagher end is on is called Strawberry Place, and there we've got Strawberry Lane, which goes down to Gallagher itself. Okay, so this has been my little tour. I'm just going to take you along to see the club shop and name bar. So as I've said, we've got the club shop here. It had closed down for a few months for it to be renovated by our new sponsors, Castoria, who've taken it over. It used to be part of Sports Direct. It was never actually part of the club in Mike Ashley's ownership. Once he bought the club, he transferred the club shop over to basically another branch of Sports Direct. Ridiculous. You used to go in and there'd be other teams' shirts in there. Absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, it's been taken over and run by Castoria now. And this is the 9 Bar, sports bar and lounge, which is open every day. It's not just on match days. Used to be called Shearer's, but again, Mike Ashley didn't like Alan Shearer, so he renamed it 9 Bar. There are calls as to whether the name Shearer's will come back. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. We'll just have to wait and see. I think it was a spiteful thing Mike Ashley did to strip the name Shearer's. But the other side of it is 9 Bar maybe celebrates other great strikers we've had. You know, Andy Cole, Les Ferdinand, Malcolm McDonald, Jacky Milburn, Hughie Gallagher. Although when Hughie Gallagher was playing, numbers were in the infancy, so the iconic number 9 wasn't as much of a thing. So a few minutes ago we saw the statue of Jacky Milburn. This is the man who broke his record. Of course, that's Big Al, Alan Shearer. All-time top goal scorer of Newcastle United. I actually don't like the statue. I think the statue itself is fairly like him, but the celebration is nothing like he did. That one finger in the air, he's not known for doing that. Known for the full hand in the air. I don't like that arm out at the front either. I don't quite know what that is either. To me it looks like he's doing the dancing Gangnam style or something. Don't like it at all. Yeah, but Alan Shearer very much an icon of Newcastle United. Probably known to a lot of younger people now as being the pundit on Match of the Day, but there we go. I'm sure they still know that he was an absolute legend of a player, a beast of a player in the 1990s. And if we just go further up Barrack Road here, in the distance we've got the gates. So these are the St James's Park gates. Used to stand just down at the main entrance, but they were taken away during the extension of the ground. They lied for a number of years in an old barn belonging to Sir John Hall, and then he got in touch with the Supporters Trust at the time, back in around, I think it was around 2010ish, and said, you know, would you like the gates? Is there anything that you can do with them? The trust weren't on great terms with the club, but through the sponsors at the time, they managed to secure a place for the gates. Not, unfortunately, the main entrance, but at the side just here up Barrack Road. So they do look a little bit strange there because they're kind of not leading to anywhere. They're right next to a wall, but it is what it is. It would be nice at some point if they could maybe get moved to one of the entrances, but we'll just have to see what happens. Okay, so this has been another video. This has been showing you around St James's Park, telling you a little bit about the history of the ground and giving you an idea as to what it looks like from the outside. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you again next time. Goodbye now.